Okay, so we are just still waiting for some people to filter in, but wanted to get started, so we're on time. Welcome everybody to the last workshop of the On the Money series. The finale is not going to disappoint. We've done four in total after tonight, and it's been such an awesome experience to be able to work in tandem with Vancity and a lot of other partners as well to produce this amazing series on subjects that we don't really talk about too often when it comes to finance. So today we have a real treat, which is talking about budgeting, which I'm terrible at, admittedly. And I think it's really helpful to just kind of like break things down really simply because there's so many things to consider in life, especially if you're thinking about starting a family. So we're really happy to welcome our friends from Brood today. Um, so I just wanted to acknowledge that this workshop is being broadcast on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish nations of the Coast Salish people. For today, I'm going to let Tina, who will introduce herself soon, and our panelists introduce themselves and do a bit of a presentation on budgeting, and then we're going to have like a very fun and hopefully lively discussion about what it means for families specifically, or people thinking about it, considering it. Maybe you've already decided you don't want to, but it's interesting if you ask me. When it comes to bigger purchases in life or bigger parts of your life that require some planning and budgeting. So I think it can be applied to almost anything in your life. When you're planning for a family, planning for something huge, it's important. Um, just some housekeeping stuff. If you feel like you want to stay anonymous, that's totally fair. So you can change your name in the chat, or sorry, in the participant list to be anonymous. And then when you ask questions, just use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen to pop your question in so that we can keep track of questions. We love it when you all chat in the chat function, but a lot of times those questions get lost in the mix. So just make sure you pop it into the Q&A, and you can also ask questions anonymously. All right, over to you, Tina.
Thank you, Amanda. First off, thank you for having me. And let me say, your vision, your dedication in building that academy have not only created a strong, empowered community, but have inspired so many individuals to show up for themselves and each other. So thank you for allowing me to participate. A little bit about me. I have a toddler who is turning 4, a little powerhouse of energy who keeps me on my toes every day. He's wild, he's full of life, and yet the sweetest joy of my world. At the same time, I'm sandwich generation. So my 84-year-old father lives with me. So you may hear him and my baby, call him a baby, he's 4. And he's the really reason why I pursued my career in wealth management. He instilled in me the importance of standing by my values and achieving financial independence. So I've been doing this for 17 years, and I'm very honored to help others gain some financial confidence and security that which he encouraged me. So that's a little bit about me. So I want to pass it on to the other panelists to talk a little bit about them.
Yeah, welcome. So Lizzie, why don't you kick us off?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Lizzie Cart. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm the co-founder of Brood. I am also a parent like Tina to a kid who turned 4 yesterday. So expect a cameo. It's the Brood way. And his birth was really the start of Brood. Hank was born in the pandemic, and I had heard about a magical doula named Emma who was being passed around our community. through some friends and then to our co-founder, Jillian Damborg. And a part of the initial conversation, not only first pregnancy, pandemic lockdown, kind of a dramatic time, but there was a lot around crowdfunding, finances from the community to pay for that care that I maybe didn't really understand the power of. But not only was the experience working with Emma so transformational that we threw everything into creating Brood, which is a community and an agency of doulas who provide in-home care and support and education for people on their path to parenthood, pregnancy, and right after. And we're proud to be living wage supporters of our doula team as well. You'll hear a lot more about it. A big fan and longtime collaborator of Bad Academy. Amanda has always helped me feel empowered and never feel shame in not knowing something. And I'll also walk away tonight learning something and excited to share more. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Lizzie. Laura, please introduce yourself.
Right, wonderful. Thanks, Amanda. My name is Laura Irwin, and I'm here with Yin Still Reproductive Wellness. So we are a clinic that works with people pursuing fertility and reproductive health. So I am very excited to be here to share what I can.
Thank you, Laura. Like I said, we're gonna get more into sort of like the nitty-gritty of like fertility costs and like, care costs and all that kind of stuff later on. But Tina's gonna show us what she has to teach us for budgeting at the moment.
Yes, budgeting. So, let me just start off saying be kind to yourself when budgeting. Budgeting comes more easily to some people than others, and that's okay. Even someone like me in the business, I found it frustrating when I was doing a budget with my partner, and we did not see eye to eye. And what mattered most was having an open conversation and learning to agree to disagree. And it was challenging. So let me just start off with that. Be kind with yourself. So on the next slide, budgeting essentially is looking at your income, your expenses, setting some goals around how you would like to spend the money, identifying, adjusting, like pivoting when needed, and creating a monthly plan. And we're going to go through an example. On the next slide, we will look at this particular example is, okay, let's look at all the sources of income that you're receiving. Salary, $3,500, your contract work is $500. So you're bringing in about $4,000. Okay, so we have that income. Then we're going to look at your expenses. What is important is to compartmentalize these two expenses, the need and the want. So the need are things that is essential: rent, grocery, utility, paying down debt. And then the wants: entertainment, dining, subscription. So let's walk through an example. So I would suggest, let's track it. So looking at your essential needs. So the essential need is roughly about, this one is the rent is $1,200, groceries is about $400. So it's about altogether $1,950 is the essential need. Now, let's look at the non-essential. So the non-essential for this example is showing about $300. So the total amount of expenses from the essential and non-essential is $2,250. So on the next page, so this particular example is saying I'm bringing in $4,000 every month. What's going out is $2,250. So the saving is surplus. Is every month this individual is saving $1,750. And it's not really all, it's not the case all the time, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So what we do now is now we know what's coming in and what's going out, but let's set some saving goals. And I like the 50-30-20 rule. And what it is 50% goes into need, 30% of what you're saving, what you're bringing in goes to want, and then 20% goes to saving and debt. So on the next slide, we broke it down. So if I'm bringing $4,000 every month, 2,000 needs to go to my need, which we talked about earlier. The individual is about 1,950. Then we want to go into our want, 1,200. And then we have our savings, which is 800. So once we kind of have a landscape of what's coming in, what's going out, then this is the hard part, is asking and being honest to yourself, are you overspending on the wants? Dining out, subscription. Do we need 3 subscription? Do we need 5? I have clients, one thing that, we don't think about, and it's been on many people's mind, is the storage unit. They're renting a storage unit just for temporarily, just to transition, but storage unit adds up $500 a month, and they forgot that line item. So really listing out the expenses kind of just gives you an overview of, okay, where can I pivot? Where can I save? On the next slide, this is very important, is being accountable. Because sometimes what happened is what we thought we're spending is not really reality. So tracking it makes things more alive. So Amanda will be sharing there are different budgeting tools that you can use. I'm more of a paper and pen individual. I'm a little bit old school. But there's also apps that you can use, like Splitwise, I heard. My friend said Spending app is very, very useful. They'll ask you for your income, your expenses, and what you would like to allocate to specific goals. I think Amanda bringing in, it's big expenses, right? Like things that you really want to save up for. And what I've heard is updating it daily is actually easier. I said, here's monthly. I think daily, it kind of breaks it down when it's monthly. It can be overwhelming when you're trying to add all the numbers in together. On the next slide, this is reflect and adjust. Oh, me and Justin, my partner Justin, do we reflect and adjust? Because what happened is that we have different priorities, right? So one could be paying down debt as fast as possible, and mine is like, no, I kind of want to pay down debt, but I want to allocate my surplus to building a contingency fund for rainy days, right? So it's really having that open conversation and coming into a common agreement. And it was challenging with my partner at times. Oh, sorry, did the slide change to me? I think I accidentally pressed something. I really wanted to show my face.
I can still see the slides, Tina.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I'm not able to. Let me just switch over. Oh, it was me. My apologies. Okay. So here is the all about childcare. So before going into this, these are for those who are thinking about a big life event, becoming a parent or growing a family. One thing that I wish I knew was budgeting for childcare. So Matthew was a surprise to our family. And little did I know it was very challenging to get childcare. And I see Lizzie smiling there because it is. And I just want to bring your attention. Brew did a fantastic piece on Vancity Money Matter with Vancity. Please have a read. And his top 10 financial decisions to make when planning for a baby. Please check it out. It was very informative. It talks about looking into parental leave plan, which can alleviate some of the cost during childcare because you have a plan at work where you can take some time off to take care of your child. Okay. So on the next,
Sorry, I just wanted to say that Lizzie dropped the link in the chat, but for anyone that's watching after, which is a lot of you, we will have that link in the resources available to you.
you're awesome. Okay. So this page, why I want to bring this slide. This slide was from Stats Canada for 2023, and essentially is trying to say that childcare can be difficult to arrange. Stats Canada did a survey. 49% of parents reported difficulty finding childcare. I was one of them. Okay. I was on many, many wait lists. So as here shows, 47% of infants were on wait lists, toddlers 24% on wait lists. So if I could give one suggestion is that when you are, when your baby is like a peanut, get on as many wait lists as possible, because as I wish I knew, I had called many different places, and they told me by the time Matthew can be accepted, he will be in grade 1. So it's essential to look at childcare. And when we're talking about childcare, it's important to implement that in your budget. So talking about that, rainy day fund, I talked about the contingency fund in the event that you need to stay home a little bit longer. So then you can transition your child to childcare. And I like to err on the side of caution, 6 months essential living expenses. Okay. On the next slide. Okay. So this one, the 6 common surprise costs. I found this, and it was actually published by Chartered Professional Accountants, CPA Canada. I really resonated with these 6 common surprise costs. So let's start with the first one. Spontaneous spending. That was me. The first 3 months, Uber Eats was my best friend. I was sleep deprived. Lizzie's smiling. Uber Eats was my best friend because it was easier. I just wanted sleep. So it was a cost that I did not anticipate. Baby products. Now, I don't think it was spontaneous, but my little one had really bad acne, like to the point it was bleeding, and I was on a list waiting to see a doctor, and it was during COVID time. So you can imagine it was very challenging. I bought every baby eczema cream possible. I could open a lotion store. That was very expensive. So there are unexpected things that happen. And I really try to use the cotton reusable diapers. That didn't work for our family, for our journey. So we used diapers, and my husband reminded me, is 25 cents per diaper. That means first 3 months, they go through like 8 to 10. So my husband reminding me is $2.50 a day. So in a month, it's about $78. So I was like, oh my goodness, I just need the diaper. Next one, it is the unexpected. And this one, I expected it. It was updating our will that costs money, and considering life insurance for our family was another added cost. The other, number 3, extracurricular activities. Yes. So that also costs additional that I didn't think about. I just thought that, you can just show up at a community center and put your child into swimming. That was the good old days, right? No, it's not the case now. We have 3 different computers lining up at a specific time trying to get Matthew into swimming lessons. He's almost 4. I cannot even get him into a swimming lesson at the community center. So what we do now is we give him private lessons, which is double the price. Babysitting costs. This was published in 2019, so I think a little bit outdated. My friends are paying in the range of $20 to $25 an hour for babysitting costs. That may be something part of your, family journey when you need to do some errands, when you need to just have a little bit time for yourself, when you may not have the support. So that's an added cost. Birthday parties. Yes, birthday parties. It's the presents that you give when you get invited to multiple events. So one thing that we started talking in our family with our family and friends is rather than giving a gift, let's just do $2 per child, like for the the birthday child, and then $2 to a charity of their choice. To really because it's quite expensive when you go to three, four, five parties a year. And the last one. And as you grow your family, you need a little bit more space. So maybe you would be moving into a larger home. And with that, it comes with, a higher mortgage, insurance is going to be more expensive, and utility bill is going to be expensive. So these are truly unexpected costs. Now that I told you all these things about having a kid, let's not, there's no question that having a kid is expensive. But most parents wouldn't trade the experience of raising their child for anything in the world. I wouldn't. And there is a way to manage by starting to save as soon as you can, collect cost-cutting advice from your advisor, from your friends and family. Like, what are they doing? Like, that's what Amanda's doing, like bringing this awareness, which is awesome. And plan far in advance to your due date will mean less financial stress for you once the baby comes. So I really hope this is helpful. And I want to kick it off to some questions.
Thank you so much, Tina. That was awesome. Yeah, I mean, like it seems really basic, but I just feel like because everybody's situation is so different that it can be quite challenging to like navigate or know who to listen to or what to consider. So I hopefully that can kind of give people like a base of what um they might be planning for the future. So thank you so much for that. Of course, like you can't always, there's nothing that you can really expect, I guess. Like there, everything's unexpected. So especially when it comes to planning a family, so it can be quite challenging. But there are things that you can do to make it a little bit easier, I'd say. Um, okay, so we're going to just like do a panel discussion right now. Um, I have some questions queued up, but anybody that is here today, if you'd like to ask questions, feel free to drop them into the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. Um, we could probably take the slide off. Um, thank you. Okay, hi. Now I can see all your faces. Um, Tina, I would really love to hear, because you work so closely with your clients, like, what do you feel like is some of the more challenging aspects of budgeting for people? Like, is it is it staying within budget or like creating budgets that are like realistic or like, like what is it about budgeting that seems to be so challenging for people?
I think money means very different to everybody,
Hmm.
and it touches a lot of different emotions. So earlier I was saying it's easier for others than for some people. So if I could pinpoint one thing about budgeting that it's hard is having that open conversation, like this is what I'm bringing in, but I'm spending a little bit more, and how to cut back. That's the hard part. And that's why it's a process. The budgeting just can't change in one day. It takes time.
Right. I mean, like it like I said, like there's so many unexpected expenses sometimes or like shit happens. So like it's interesting to I guess like people my in my experience anyway. I'm sorry, I'm like so distracted by Lizzie's very cute child. Hi, Hank. Um I guess like sometimes I don't want to make a budget because I just know that something is going to happen. And then I have to like go outside the budget or, like I'm like I don't know how to like kind of like have a budget that sort of like breathes with my life, and kind of like shrinks or expands. So do you have any suggestions for like how people can handle that?
life, right? Life gives us like, and I think earlier I was like, when it rains, it pours, and sometimes hails on us. And the way for it to expand and kind of like pivot is having that contingency fund. I think that
Right.
you talked about too,
Right.
right? Tuck aside 20% to savings and
Mhm.
don't look at it. And if you don't have a side gig or, business is a little bit slow, the billables are not there. Well, that's what the contingency fund is for. It's to bridge for
Right.
the unexpected.
Right. And then like I guess like everybody's life changes or goes through phases, right? So like I mean, to plan for a family is sort of like a huge change in the pace of your life, the structure of your life. I guess like I'd love to ask Laura about her experience running your clinic, which I would love for you to plug. um, what when it comes to people that are planning for a family, like have you seen a lot of sort of like anxieties and stress from people around like the cost of it? And if you could like highlight some of the costs of like of fertility.
Sorry, I just need to unmute. Yes, absolutely. So yes, I work with people who are oftentimes having trouble conceiving. And so this isn't everyone in the population. It's going to be a small portion of the population. Or people, who are in same-sex couples, that kind of thing, or looking for kind of alternative family planning. Um, so yes, there's definitely a lot of challenge, emotionally, financially, like physically, when you're considering different kinds of fertility options. If you're not able to conceive naturally and needing to use fertility clinics, our clinic is a acupuncture and naturopathic clinic. So we're offering support with holistic health to support fertility and reproductive health. But of course, lots of people are then needing to utilize fertility clinics, which can be very expensive. And so, no one ever expects to have challenges. And so oftentimes you're not expecting to have to be spending this kind of money, which can be thousands and thousands of dollars. So, sometimes it's a matter of what you have available through your insurance. Sometimes that can cover a portion. Sometimes, if you do have some, money on the side, kind of, for the rainy day fund, that can contribute. But then oftentimes it is out of pocket. Um, I will say that this year, we are supposed to be having some funded IVF programs starting in April 2025 for BC. I know some other provinces in Canada already have programs like that. So more information to be forthcoming. But yeah, it's definitely all these things to consider.
Yeah, totally. Okay, I didn't know a lot of that. And just so everyone knows, I'll be sending a list of resources that Laura has so kindly put together for everybody around fertility if it's something that you're considering and the costs around them. So look out for that. Um, we had someone ask Tina, is the 20% savings plus a certain amount for retirement, or is it retirement that's included
That
in the 20%?
That's a great question. That 20% is allocated to pay yourself. So paying yourself could be in RSPs if a registered retirement saving plan is advantageous at that chapter, or it could be a tax-free savings account, right? Or first home savings account. That 20% is to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you haven't had a chance to watch our on saving workshop that happened last week, or if you're just watching this in the future, like it's a separate workshop, so you can watch that one. Make sure you catch it because we talk a lot about savings and the different kinds of savings accounts that you can use, and what does like liquid versus not liquid mean. So check that out. Um, I also wanted to ask about different like saving models and then also budgeting models. Like I was gonna ask Lizzie because I think you mentioned this in one of our calls in preparation for this panel. what are some like different alternative ways that people are sort of creating more flexibility and also budgets for families these days that you've seen?
Great question. AKA throw to the newly diagnosed ADHD, how does money work? Um, Shout out to those who are learning about their magic brains at this age. Slide into my DMs. Um, I'm really glad you asked that question because that was a story I was beginning to start. And just a little more context, at Brood, we provide care for education, pregnancy, birth, labor, and postpartum up to a year. So like a really exciting, magical, challenging time for all kinds of families. And our hope is to make thinking about how to invest in that care, and we really see it as an investment in the family, the birthing person who's learning about their body and recovery, as well as the baby and learning these skills. It's like we've been passed from Dr. Laura, even onwards to where Tina was talking about balancing childcare for that 4-year-old who just made a little cameo. But we know that it's often hard to see yourself investing. For some, investing in brood care could be $800 up to $5,000 or even more, depending on how long people work with us. So that's an investment in themselves. Um, Families approach it in many different ways. They've budgeted or saved. They've thought about having a doula as a part of their care team. It's on their radar. That's wonderful. That was not me, and that's not a lot of people that we work with. So I'm also going to normalize that. Other ways people are paying for care are there's a big shift in the changing tide of insurance. So some insurance providers are covering doula and postpartum care, which is amazing, and we can't wait to see more. If you have benefits through work or an extended like health plan, I really recommend even early days considering like ask some questions of your employers. And if you're in Vancouver or BC, like please name drop us or reach out to us. We're really happy to help with that coverage piece. We know that can really provide extra care for you. And then I mentioned crowdfunding, and we have a really amazing resource. And what crowdfunding is, sometimes when you have a big life event, you have a registry, right? So you're like, please buy me these cute things because this big life event happened. And often, if you think about baby registries, what I did and chose to do based on what I saw in my community and the advice that friends gave was, you don't need stuff. We've got you covered. Stuff will find its way to you. You need this care. So just ask for the care. And that's where that emotional piece comes in that Tina was mentioning. Like asking for money is hard. Asking for help is really hard. Accepting that help is hard. But the crowdfunding on a baby registry actually made it feel a little bit more celebratory. Like a picture of Emma was like, we need this care. And friends were able to really learn and feel invested in those, first few weeks and what that felt like. So many families are crowdfunding, or they have family members who are covering parts of their care. And we are very flexible, at least within Brood, of finding ways to do that. Other possibilities, and this is like outside of working with us, but other care providers are payment plans, being really clear about your budget. Sliding scale, we use a sliding scale method and the green bottle method so that all kinds of families can access our care and that our doula's time is honored in a way that works for them. I'm sure there's other models, but what we've really learned and Brood, and really what I learned from Emma and being around other amazing doulas like Katja, who's here, and some other folks is these are emotionally charged conversations, but if you're really human and try to find creative community solutions, there's likely somebody out there who's been asking those questions, writing about it, thinking about it. And we really one of our core beliefs is paying caregivers what they're worth. Like we will always like caregivers and care workers and birth workers that's so essential to us, and finding ways to make this work visible, celebrated, and accessible for families. And we're just getting started figuring that out. Did I answer your question? Did I mention I have ADHD?
Oh, no, I loved your answer. Because it really, it's not even just specifically about families and like care, you know, before a baby, after a baby. I kind of wanted to talk about like the cost of care in general because something I've noticed anyway is that women don't put a lot of value on their care. And sometimes like it's like, well, I'll just do it, or I'll just like suffer through this, or I don't need a doula, or I don't need this. I can just do it and like stay within budget. And I think that that's potentially not putting yourself first, in terms of like discounting how important it is to put money towards care. So like, I mean, I'm Lizzie, this is like, a big banner for Brood, and something that you all talk about a lot, but like it must be difficult for some of your clients to spend that money on care, right? Because they're like, well, I don't need this. So like I can just do it, or like get it for free from like family and friends and stuff like that. But like, I mean, the cost of having specific care through people like Brood must be like life-changing for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's well, just thank you for reflecting that. That made me think a lot about pet care. Like there's a dog walkers in our community who we love. They're actually, one of them is pregnant, going to use brood care, which is really exciting. But when one person in a community asks for help, crowdfunds, does a meal train, is open about what they're going through in their life, it gives other people permission to do the same. And even in this community of dog walkers we love, and they've had, some really horrible health scares and some joyful moments like being pregnant, because everyone has normalized asking for help, it's made that so easy. And it does go beyond having a family. It's loss and death, health scares. Tina talked about like sandwich generation stuff. So it is a practice. And as we talk to families all day long, we matchmake them with amazing doulas on our team. And what we often see is, there are a lot of feminized people who are like, I could do this. I got this. Then they call us sometimes in like in a real SOS moment, sleep deprived, they're unwell, and it can be quite scary sometimes. And so it's hard to invest. You don't know what you'll need, especially if it's your first kid or as you're expanding your family. And so that's often the delicate dance that we do, is to provide the information so that people can make the decision to take care of themselves in some way, adjust that care as they need. Always care for people best we can if they call and they're in like a real pickle. But we're really trying to just change the conversation around asking for help and investing in different layers of your path to parenthood. Folks who we do see, like folks who invest or like go on a long fertility journey or go through loss through their pregnancy, they're often like, let's go. My due date's in October. I know I'm going to need some support. And that's really interesting to see the dynamics that have shifted. Or sometimes when people are, 7 weeks in and they're so exhausted, it's parents or friends who are calling and covering the cost of care too. So I really hope that someone watching this 5 years from now is like, oh, this is so outdated, because now we just know that we need to do this. But there's ways to practice. And like as Tina was saying, once I had dog care built into my budget, I mean, that's different than the childcare thing. Is I need to call my therapist to still work through that for me. But um, it uh, it just becomes a core part of your lifestyle and your life.
Yeah, I think like, I mean, yeah, those are really good points. I mean, like, money is not often seen as like an emotional thing, right? It's like it's just numbers from a lot of people's perspectives, and I think that the financial a lot of like the financial world has sort of like made it so that it just doesn't seem very emotional. But I mean, as we know now, like the stock market is literally just based on emotions, people freaking out essentially. Um, so like I guess I would love to t ask Laura like about like the emotional aspect of it. I mean, like fertility is such a I don't know, it's not like a taboo subject, but I just feel like it's something that people, like you said, don't expect to have to like spend money on, or it's something that's like quite emotionally charged because I guess like some people think it's like a failure on their part. And I just like would love to hear about the clients that come to you and like how that impacts like their decision making in those moments.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I was thinking about that as Lizzie was speaking. It's, a lot of the support that I provide really is emotional, because it is a very stressful experience, for a lot of people. And of course, the fertility stress is only really one stressor that can show up. There's all the other stressors that are still present. And so then navigating that, all at once, can be challenging. So, I see people who are, trying to conceive naturally, also utilizing the artificial reproductive technologies. So, going through IVF or IUI and, the acupuncture, herbal medicine, these sort of natural approaches, can be so beneficial. Um, not just for, providing support in, benefiting fertility, but also in, the holistic, approach and getting the whole body kind of, oriented in the right way. And so with that, the emotional component is actually quite big. And it's an intimate dynamic, right? And I hear a lot of people's stories, and it is, there is loss and there is difficulty, but also a lot of celebration and joy. So it's really rewarding work, to be in the kind of thick of it with people. Um, but it's a lot of that. Okay, how do you manage the stress when it shows up? Acupuncture can allow for that sort of relaxation, but also, getting good sleep, getting time out in nature, making sure that you're eating well, all of these things, provide more resilience, when challenges come up.
Yeah, I guess like it's like yeah, thanks for saying that, Laura. It's like a preemptive thing is to like think about, like how emotional or how like you will be mentally when a crisis does occur or something is not quite right. Um, and that's it's like difficult for people to think of money in that frame of mind. Like, okay, so here's an example that has nothing to do with babies, but this year, like one of my goals was to start painting again because I used to paint a lot. Um, and I had a really hard time paying the very reasonable ask from the teacher that I went to go see for $250 a month, to take weekly classes. And I was telling my friend that I was like, it's kind of expensive, but I guess I should probably like invest in myself, blah blah blah. And she was like, I'm pretty sure you spend that much on like shoes, like like in a week or in a day, and you don't even blink an eye sometimes. And I'm just like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. Um, so sometimes like I think it's just difficult to put attach like money to something that is going to bring you comfort or be good for you or like be something that is like helpful for you. And so it's a real frame of mind, I feel like, and I'm gonna ask Tina about this now, which is that like when you're creating a budget, um, I guess like some people think that creating a budget is like, oh, you can only spend $100 on groceries, or like going out to eat or whatever. But but the longer that I'm kind of doing this as an adult, the more I'm like realizing that making like a realistic budget is actually probably the best way to stay within budget. Meaning like if I put a lot of um stock in like activities, like what if I was like really into skiing? Um, I it makes a lot of sense that I would put a lot of money towards that because it's something that I really enjoy rather than, making sure that there's like budget for something that I don't really enjoy as much. You know what I mean?
Oh, and I couldn't disagree with you more. That's why we break up the expenses on your essential and then your non-essential. And then we're having that conversation. So what brings you the most, your authentic self is, for example, you want to go skiing. Well, something has to give, right? So that means we'll allocate, or the individual will, I want to allocate this towards ski lessons, which is $180 lessons or whatever it is. Then there is going to be that want where maybe the dining out needs to be carved out a little bit. You mentioned shoes, right? Shoes will be part. And I'll be honest, I was the wife where I'm like, I am never going to hide my shoes in my car. I hide my shoes in my car.
Yeah, but I mean,
But
you're right, like if you like love shoes, then like, like you should buy shoes, right? Like, and I guess like there's just like a lot of shame in like what you should be spending your money on. And like I'm just so
100%.
done with that because it's like if you want to spend money on shoes, then girl, like go buy shoes. It's fine. But like obviously like think that it just comes with like the asterisk that you have to make sure that that money is coming from like a different pot of money, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I'll give it if my husband's listening to this, and which he might, because
Well,
I like
he
to listen
wasn't
to it,
invited, so no.
he will. And this is something that I mentioned, we were frustrated at each other, is because I go to him and I'm like, it doesn't matter where I spend my bucket because my allocation is allocated to my expense. If one day I decided to use all my expenses, and I'm going to use, for example, on shoes, that's okay because I'm still having a surplus. It would be a red flag and a conversation we should have if I'm using it on my credit card and I'm
Mm,
not paying it.
right. Which we talked about in the debt workshop.
Mhm. So I totally agree with you, and I definitely hide shoes in my car.
You do you. I love it. I approve it. So that means something, right? Okay, great. Well, I think that kind of brings us up until the end of this. I'm gonna let everybody kind of like plug whatever they'd like to plug and say bye. But thank you all so much for being here and having this really important discussion. The thing I kind of want to drive home the most about budgeting is that it's not like a strict, like, stay within the box kind of thing. Like, we all know that, like, life kind of gives and takes, and, like, it can shrink and it can expand. And there's no shame in that. You go over budget, you come in under budget. I think it's really important that people understand that that is just life, and that you could take steps to kind of make sure that you can stay as comfortable as possible during those times. And especially if you're planning for a family or thinking about it, it's something that uh, you can do. And it's a lot of it is emotional, and to just kind of be patient with yourself around that. Um, Tina, I'll let you go first and say your sort of sign off here. But thank you so much for your amazing performance. Wasn't performance, but sort of. I don't know why it's a performance.
Maybe
Uh,
because I was waving my hand.
presentation. Thank you.
I can't thank you enough for doing this. And if I do a plug, you know, we are here at Vancity. Honestly, there is an advisor for you. Trust me, we'll work with you. Um, that's why I've been with Vancity for over 17 years, and I'm so glad I chose Vancity as a place to work.
Amazing. Thank you, Tina. Yeah, we'll make sure that we have a little link for everybody to follow if you want to make an appointment with one of your amazing advisors. Laura, why don't you do a little sign off here?
All right. Thank you so much for this opportunity to chat about reproductive health and fertility support. So, I'm Laura. I'm working at Yin Still Reproductive Wellness. We've got our clinic in Vancouver and also Delta, and supporting people throughout that journey into pregnancy and beyond.
Thank you so much. And Liz, last but not least, Lizzie.
Thank you for having us. Anything that the Brood team can help you with, whether you're considering having a family, currently pregnant, or are a birth or care worker, come and find us at Brood. We are also getting ready to launch a new course that we created with Vancity in the next few weeks, or maybe it's in the future and it's out. It's called Wealthy Beginnings. You'll get amazing Brood toolkits and deep diving into really like everything we've talked about and more with Emma and Jill. And it's a tool that I think so many of us wish that we had, and we're really proud to get it out in the world. So more to come.
Thanks, Lizzie. Yeah,
Thank
it's
you for having us.
yeah, of course. Yeah, no, I think it's awesome that you guys are working with Vancity as well because there's so much to consider when it comes to money and parenting. So this is perfect. A match made in heaven. Thank you so much for being here, everybody here live with us, and everybody joining us in the future. You will have a list of resources sent out to you / available to you if you're watching this after. And we're all here. If you have any questions or you want to reach out to any of us, I'll make sure that I have links to Brood and Yinsel and also Vancity. Thank you all so much for this amazing series, and you will be hearing from us very soon. We will be doing a million workshops as usual. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night. Bye.